Well, good morning, my friend. It is Veterans Day, November the 11th. Welcome to the Pastor's Podcast. Good to have you along this morning. And let me say thank you for your service to all the veterans out there who gave their body parts, their friends' lives, and your time to give us the freedom that we have. And I want to just say thank you. And I appreciate all that you've done. A couple of veterans come to my mind. I think of my good friend, Brother Don Chitty, a pastor now up in the New Mexico. Appreciate him and his service. I even think of one of the men in our church, Brother Bruce Godwin. And thank you all for your service. My nephew, Tim or TJ Apusin. I want to say many others. I could probably sit here and talk about names of people. And let me just say thank you to every veteran. If you see one today, be sure to stop and just say thank you for your service. And many times, I know now it's been popular, but I think of the Vietnam veterans who came back, what popular for them. They were cast aside and considered and hated. And just to say thank you for your service, anybody can do that. And take some time out of your day to do that. That'd be a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. Let me read to you this morning from Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 18. The scripture says, "For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow." I was very young when I first started in evangelism. I was only 21 years of age. And I hear, here I was preaching to people much older than myself. I'm an evangelist. I was an evangelist. And one of the common statements I heard as a young evangelist was that they'd say, "You preach beyond your years." Now, the reason why what they were saying to me was I was not preaching like I was 21 years of age. But they were saying I was preaching like I was someone who was older. Now, how did this happen? I'll tell you exactly how. The reason this happened was because I was wise enough not to attempt to be my own man and show everyone how smart I was, or if I should say, was not. But I was wise enough to build on what I had learned as a preacher's son throughout the years and from preachers that I'd been around. Instead of wasting my time complaining about being a preacher's son, I learned every lesson that I could that God gave me while I was under my dad so that I could be a help to others. Now, these lessons were not easy to learn. These lessons were learned through 6 church splits. They were learned through having to move several times. They were learned through many battles I had to fight. Wisdom was learned through each of these hard times. You see, the cost of wisdom was the battles that I had to go through to learn that wisdom. Now, sometimes those battles that were other people's battles that they had to go through for me to learn. Now, let me give you several thoughts about the cost of wisdom for you to learn some things. First, wisdom is not free. James 1:5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, give it to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given. Yes, God will give you wisdom if you ask him for it. But there's a cost to the wisdom that God is going to give to you. Now, what is that cost? The verse I just read to you shows that the cost is, for in much wisdom is much grief. And he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. God is simply showing that you have to pay a price. It's not free to get wisdom. We're wanting everything free in this day. Wisdom's not free, my friend. And if you're looking for some wisdom for free, you're not going to get it. Second, wisdom comes through tough experiences. Notice that the cost of wisdom is grief and sorrow. Every situation you face in life is there for you to learn. You can gripe about the hard times you had to face, or you can take advantage of them by learning the wisdom that God is trying to teach you through those hard times. The wisest of people have had to face the toughest of times because wisdom is learned through the battles and not on the playground. You can play through life and be as dumb as a pile of rocks. You can face your heartaches and your battles and learn from them and gain the wisdom that God has for you to help others through them. Third, you lessen your grief by building on another's wisdom. So here's the best part about wisdom. I don't have to go through all the grief that others have gone through to get wisdom if I will learn from their experiences. I didn't have to go through all that my dad went through to gain his wisdom. I just had to be observant enough and teachable enough to learn from his experiences. Now, one of the greatest mistakes many of this present younger generation make is that they're throwing out the past to prove their own worth. Now, that's dumb. Can I say to every young generation that's trying to do that, you're showing your stupidity. And I know you say, you shouldn't use that word. You shouldn't show your stupidity. You're throwing out the past. You're throwing out wisdom that you could gain. You're losing the wisdom you could learn from them. My friend, don't try to recreate a wheel, but gain the wisdom from those who have already fought those battles and built upon it. You know what we learn from history is that we don't learn anything from history. Now, the fact is you can learn a lot from history if you stop being so hard-headed and stop being so arrogant to think that you're God's gift to wisdom and God's gift to mankind, and realize that those before us who are already in heaven taught us some things. Learn from them. Good night. I grieve for the next generation, this young generation, because of some of this present generation leadership that thinks that they know everything, and they're throwing everything from the past out, and they're ruining the future. I mean, ruining it because of their arrogance. God gave us wisdom of others. Now, get this. If you don't learn from the past, then you're going to have to go through the grief that the past had to go through to gain their wisdom. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think I'd much rather just learn from the past and have to go through the grief. Now, my admonition to you is not to waste your grief by not learning the wisdom. God has wisdom for you to learn through the battles that you're going through, but he's also got wisdom for you to learn from the battles of others. Now, don't let these battles go to waste. In every heartache and battle is wisdom to be learned. Whether it's your battle or someone else's battle, learn from it. If you stop griping about the heartaches and battles, and you stop trying to throw out the past, you can learn a lot of wisdom that can help you in life so you can teach others. My friend, I know we live in a day that even politicians, I fear for America because of most of our arrogant politicians trying to throw out the past, trying to recreate a will. My goodness, we have so many people. We have so much wisdom to gain from that made America great, and they're trying to throw it out for their own agenda. We understand that. There's men that are much older than myself that they're still alive. I want to gain from them. I'm not going to throw them out. I think of a Dr. Bob Gray Sr. I talk to him every week. You know why? Because I want to gain his wisdom. My father-in-law, Dr. Steve Heidenreich, I talk to him often. You know why? He's got wisdom for me to learn from. I think of those I've served under, Dr. Lee Robertson, Dr. Jack Hiles, have something to learn from them. They got wisdom. Why would I throw them out? Oh, my friend, let's stop throwing the wisdom out. Let's glean from it. Let's not try to be the one that's going to clean up something. Well, just clean yourself up, learn from the wisdom of the past, and you could avoid a lot of heartache yourself. I hope this will help you out. We live in such a day, I get concerned. I get burdened in my heart for a generation of people that are just throwing wisdom out because they feel like they got to correct them. You can't correct people that are already in heaven. Let God take care of that. You learn from them, and let's go reach people for Christ. Build lives and see what God can't do to help us to help others out. My friend, hope this is a help to you today. Remember today, be good to everybody. Everybody's having a tough time. Have a great and wonderful day, my friend.